Hey everyone, it's John, and today I'm going to do a video on iBGP. Now, fair warning, iBGP is quite a difficult concept to understand when you're first seeing it. If you're not used to it, don't be hard on yourself if you find it confusing. I found it confusing, I think everyone finds it confusing, and the best thing to do is to maybe watch this video, read a little bit about it, but then lab it. Labbing it will really help you understand how iBGP works, because it's very different in many aspects to other routing protocols, even eBGP. So the first thing which I'm going to do is discuss a little bit of the rules of iBGP so it kind of makes sense of what I'm doing, and then I'll go through some of the configurations and we're going to see the behaviour change depending on what happens in the network. So first things first, eBGP, how does that prevent loops? Well, you think about eBGP because BGP deals with the global internet routing table, which might have, say, 500,000 routes. Now, how does it prevent loops on such a scale? Well, when BGP advertisements are traversing through an AS like AS5 or AS13 or AS47, BGP effectively stamps it with its AS number, okay? Now, if another BGP router receives a route from another autonomous system number, and in the AS path it's already got its stamp on it, it knows it's came back to it. So the way I likened it when I was talking about AS path in another video was, imagine it like a passport. If you are in England and you go to one of the airports, you go to Heathrow and they stamp your passport to say you've been in England, okay? Now you travel to Germany, and at the German customs they stamp your passport to say you've been in Germany, and then you travel to Italy and the Italian customs stamp to say you've been in Italy. If you then go back to England, they can see you've returned because you've got the English stamp on it. The same way kind of happens with BGP. If this router here, R3, happened to get a route and the AS path happened to say 1347, 92, 1005, and also had 5 in it, it would know that, hey, this route has actually came through me because it's got my AS path in it, and because of that it will not take the route, it will drop it. So that is how eBGP prevents routes. Now think about it, how does iBGP prevent routes? Because iBGP uses the same AS number, so this is AS5 to AS5 to AS5 to AS5 to AS5 to AS5. How's it going to tell when there's a loop because of that? And the way it does it is with iBGP split horizon. Now, if you remember split horizon from your distance vector, like eIGRP or RIP, you remember that a router will not advertise a route back out of an interface in which it came. So if a router received a route on this interface in distance vector, it won't advertise the same route back at this interface. iBGP split horizon is similar in concept in that routes learned from an iBGP peer will not be relayed to another iBGP peer. So think about it. If in this case we've got an iBGP connection between these three here, if router 4 advertises its loopback of all the 4s to router 3, okay, now this is an eBGP peering because it's going from 13 to 5. Because of that's an eBGP, router 3 will pass it on to its peer because this is eBGP from 13 to 5. So 4 will get to up here, okay? However, will it pass it on? Will 2 pass it on to 1? No, because it's received the route from an iBGP peer, 3, so it will not pass it on to another iBGP peer, which is 1. Okay, so the eBGP peering will go here and it will go up here. However, because 2 received it from an iBGP, it won't pass it to the other iBGP, which is 1. So that is the very basics of iBGP split horizon. Now, the way to overcome that problem, you think, well, how are we actually going to form all these relationships if it's not going to effectively reflect the routes to each other? How are we going to build this BGP network? The way you do that is with iBGP, you effectively mesh all the routers together. Now, if you think, well, how are you going to do that? Because that's not connected to that. It's connected to here, so how's it going to be? How are you going to have an adjacency with this one here? That might seem like it's correct because you're used to OSPF, where you're going to build an adjacency with this one, and this will build with that, and this will build with that, and that, and that, and effectively you chain them together. BGP in both versions do not need to be do not need to peer with directly connected neighbours, particularly iBGP. iBGP almost never has got, but it does, but most of its connections in large networks are connected via an IGP for reachability. So in this case, you need to have a mesh between 3's got to be neighboured to 2 and to 1, 2's got to be neighboured to 3 and to 2, and 1 has got to be neighboured to 1 and to 3. So if R4 advertises its loopback into R3, because it's eBGP, it's going to pass it to its iBGP peer, okay, which is up here. However, when it's also peered with R1, it's also going to pass the route to R1 because these are actually eBGP peers. So it's iBGP peers. Okay, so it's going eBGP to iBGP, and because this is getting a connection from an eBGP connected network, it can actually receive the route. However, if it happened to go from eBGP to here and then iBGP and get it from number 2, it would not, because, like I say, routes learned from an iBGP peer, in this case this router, will not be relayed to another iBGP peer. So again, this might sound very confusing at first. The best thing to do is lab it up, and like I say, in this video we're going to demonstrate that. So that's the mechanism of loop prevention. The second thing that is really big is iBGP does not modify path attributes. And the real thing here we need to focus on is it doesn't modify the next hop address. Now what does that mean? So let's say this is all connected up. We've got BGP running everywhere. iBGP, eBGP, eBGP, iBGP right through here. And let's say R5 advertises its loopback of all the 5s. Okay, so it passes its loopback to here, and when this advertises it to number 3, because they're in different ASs, the next hop, rather than being gigabit 01 here, it's going to modify it and flip it to this one. Okay, and because R3 has reachability to this next hop here, it can now reach the loopback here because it's got access to here. The problem is with iBGP, no such thing happens. iBGP, it effectively does not modify any path attributes. So in this case, 5 passes it to 4, and because 4 is passing it to a different AS5, it's going to flip the next hop to here. Router 3 can get to this next hop, therefore it's got a valid path. However, router 3 passing to its iBGP peers does not modify anything. So the next hop still remains here. So it goes from here, 4 flips it to here, and because this is passing to an iBGP neighbour, it doesn't change the next hop. So the next hop still remains here. Now, what problem could arise with this? Well, in the case of this router, it doesn't know how to get to here. It's only got a connection to this network, and definitely this one here doesn't know how to get to here because it's only got a connection to this network. So the way to deal with this is to use an IGP, an interior gateway protocol like OSPF as the underlay, and run BGP or iBGP on top of that. And this is what the concept is really kind of difficult to understand. People think, iBGP, is that not an internal gateway protocol? Well, no, it's not. It's BGP run internally, but you also still use your IGP for reachability. Now, what I'm going to do is, in this demonstration, this topology, I'm going to demonstrate what happens when you don't run an IGP in this iBGP network, and I'm going to actually run OSPF within this, and I'll show you the difference. Okay, so again, this is very confusing. I understand that. Just try to follow along as best you can. Maybe watch it a few times and then lab it. That's the key to understanding this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is peer these, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually not going to mesh these together so you can really see what happens if you don't actually do the meshing. So this one here is going to have no IGP and no meshing. This one here is going to have full meshing and IGP, and we're going to see what happens, okay? So let's go and start these configurations. Okay, so we're going to do enable conft router BGP 5. Okay, now we're going to specify our network, our neighbor on a directly connected interface. So in this case, this IP address up here is 205.0.0.6. So we'll just type that in, neighbor 205.0.0.6. And like I say, by typing remote 5, because this one matches this, BGP understands this is now an iBGP relationship and it will act accordingly. Okay, so we've done that there, and we'll go to R2. Now R2 is going to be appearing with both of these. So R2 is effectively meshed with both, but 1 and 3 will not pair with each other, at least not first. So conft router BGP 5, and we'll do a neighbor, and we're going to pair again with this address here, 205.0.0.5, and we'll do remote 5. Now we should get a adjacency pop up, although it does take a little bit of time because BGP is pretty slow. There we go. And we'll also pair with gigabit 01, which is 205.0.0.1, so we'll do that. And again, it's still remote 5. And let's slide along to number 3. And like I say, you should pair these all together. They should all be fully meshed out, but we're just going to just do it like 3 and 1 will not be paired together, and we're going to see what happens. So we'll do conft and we'll do router BGP 5, and we're going to pair with this interface here, which is 205.0.0.2, network 205.0.0.2, and we'll do remote 5. Okay, so this adjacency should pop up. Okay, that's us, and the next thing we're going to do is have our eBGP pairing with AS13 router 4, which is 5.13.0.2, so we'll do that as well. Neighbor 5.13.0.2, and this is remote 13, and like I say, because this is a different AS, it's going to interpret this as an eBGP pair, and the rules will therefore be applied. So let's go to here, and we shall do our router BGP 13, and we'll do neighbor, and we're going to pair with this interface here, which is 5.13.0.1, and we'll do remote 5. Okay, so we should get our BGP peering coming up. Right, okay, now for the moment, what I want you to do is just forget about this whole part of the network. We're just focusing on these two autonomous systems. So we've got an eBGP peering here, we've got an iBGP peering here, and an iBGP peering here, but not an IGP between 1 and 3. So what I'm going to do is advertise router 4's loopback of all the 4s into BGP, and let's see what happens. So we'll do network 4.4.4 with a mask of 255.255/32. Do clear IP BGP soft, and we'll just see what happens. Now, if we look at router 3, we're going to see that it's got BGP, it's 4.4.4 just fine in both its BGP table and its routing table. So we do show IP BGP. We'll see that we have a route to all the 4s. It's valid and best, and the next hop is 5.13.0.2. Okay, so this is this one here, that's the next hop, that's fine. Now, here's the interesting part. This, because it's got a neighbor relationship with router 2, is going to pass it on, but it's going to pass it on with iBGP rules. So that means it's not going to modify this next hop. Okay, so let's have a look and see that in here. So if we do a show IP BGP, we're going to see that we actually see the 4 network, but the next hop is still 5.13.0.2. It's not changed the next hop, it's still here. So this router actually doesn't know how to get to this next hop. So you'll actually notice, because of that, if we actually look at the routing table, it's not in the routing table because it's not a valid path. It's receiving it via BGP, there it's there, But again, if we actually type in show IP and get pretty specific here, show IP BGP, we're going to see it's inaccessible. See? The next hop path is inaccessible. Okay, so that is the first problem with the next hop, because iBGP is not modifying that next hop, it's just leaving, it's just passing the route on straight in. Now, we can at least see the route on BGP on router 2. Like I say, we can still see it here, show IP BGP. It's there even though it's inaccessible because of the next hop. In router 1, it's going to have absolutely nothing because router 2 has received the 4.4.4 from an iBGP peer, so it's not going to advertise it to its other iBGP peer, so this one's going to get absolutely nothing. If we show IP BGP, blank, nothing at all, doesn't have anything. Show IP BGP, network's not in the table. Okay, so that is the first problem with iBGP. So the way to get around that, like I say, we need to have a full mesh. Now, the way you really would do that would be running an IGP, but in this case, I'm just going to put a static route, just so we have reachability, and then going to have this. So what we're going to do is we'll do an IP route to this network here is 205.0.0.0, and it's a /30 mask, and our exit interface is gigabit 00. So now 1 can get to 3, and we need to make 3 be able to get the return traffic back, so we'll do a static route in this one as well. So let's do a conft IP routes, and it's a 205.0.0.4, and the mask, and the exit interface to get to it is gigabit 01. Okay, so let's try and ping 205.0.0.5, which is number 1's interface here. Give it a little second, might lose a few packets. There we go, so we now have reachability. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a neighbour adjacency between these two now that they can reach each other. Like I say, it's not like eIGRP or OSPF, they do not need to be directly connected. It's just IGP peers like I've got here are often not directly connected. So as long as they've got reachability, they can be peers. So let's go and do that just now. So let's have a wee look. And we shall do router BGP5, and our neighbour is going to be this interface here of gigabit 01 of router 3. So we'll do neighbour 205.0.0.1, and remote is number 5 because it's iBGP still, same autonomous system number. And with router 3, it's going to be 205.0.0.5, which is router 1's gigabit 00 interface. And let's do the same thing and see what happens. Okay, so we'll do conft router BGP 5, and we'll do neighbour 205.0.0.5 and remote 5, and we should get an adjacency pop up in a wee second. Give it a bit of time, there we go. Okay, so let's have a look now. So the problem was beforehand we were not receiving anything from router 2 because router 2 was following the BGP split horizon rule. It was receiving an iBGP route from an iBGP peer, and it was not passing it to another iBGP peer. So in effect, router 1 was not receiving it. Now, because these two are actually peering, despite it not being physically connected or logically connected, this is actually going to receive the route now, but it's going to receive it from router 3, even though physically it's transiting through router 2, logically it's receiving it from router 3. So now if we go in our BGP table, we'll see that we are now receiving the network of all the 4s. Router 1 can now see it, but the problem remains, it's still, the next hop is still unreachable. So in its routing table, it's still not there. There's no 4.4.4.4. So the way to overcome that, well, one way, like I say, the first way to do this, I'm going to do it with something called the next hop self, and this actually bends the rules of iBGP. It's very often done, but it's not considered best practice. So what I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to state on the neighbour statements on this one is that for this neighbour here, I'm going to add an additional next hop self. What that does is it says, when I pass a route to this neighbour, I'm going to flip the next hop to myself. When I pass a route to this neighbour, I'm going to flip the next hop to myself. And because this router can get to that interface and this router can get to that interface via the static route, we now will have a valid path. So let's go and do that just now. So we'll do conft router BGP 5 and we'll do neighbour and put this interface here, which is 205.0.0.2, and we'll do next hop self. Okay, that's going to modify that. When I send a route to this neighbour, I'm going to change the next hop from here to my own, which this one can get to. Same again, this one here, neighbour 20. What one is that? Sorry, 205.0.0.5, and that's next hop self. And just a wee clear IPvGP. Okay, so let's have a look and see what's happened now. So the route now we'll do is show IPvGP, and you'll notice that the next hop is no longer 5.13.0.2. The next hop has been modified to router 3's self effectively, which is 205.0.0.1, and because this router can get to that next hop, it is now, if you see this wee arrow, it's now a valid and best path. So now it's in the routing table, show IP routes, and now we've got all the 4s in the routing table. The same thing with router 1. Let's have a look here. So go to router 1, and we do it show IPvGP, and we'll see that the next hop is router 3's self, which because of the static route we've created, we now have reachability, and because of that we now have a best path, and we do a show IP route, and it's also in our routing table. So that is one of the main things you need to learn, is with iBGP there's an iBGP split horizon, so you need to mesh all the routers, and iBGP by default does not modify any BGP attributes, including AS path or next hop, and the next hop really can have issues with reachability, so just be aware of that. So what I'm going to do is continue on and start bringing this AS into the demonstration. So let's continue on. So we'll do router BGP 13 and we'll pair with router 5 gigabit 01, so neighbour 1347.02, remote 47, and we'll go here and we shall do, and we'll pair with router 4's gigabit 01, which is 1347.01. Yep, BGP 47, and we'll do neighbour 1347.01, remote 13, and we should get an eBGP peering coming up. There we go. Okay, so now we have a full mesh of iBGP here, eBGP peering with here, and eBGP peering with here. Now, here's the thing, okay? What I'm going to do is create an OSPF IGP within the AS here. So let's go and do that just now. And another thing is that BGP is commonly paired via loopback addresses for reachability. Like I say, because of iBGP doesn't have to be directly connected, very often you're taking these long and fractious and circuitous paths of the network to get to your neighbour. It's not a directly connected neighbour. So if the directly connected interfaces go down, the loopback is quite an easy way to find it. As long you'll still have reachability, as long as the IGP can find a path to that loopback, you still will have your iBGP neighbour relationships. It's a good idea to do that. So let's go and just do that just now. So if you remember from my last video about update source and whatnot, you'll remember how to pair with loopbacks, but if not, go and watch that, or just follow along with this one. So we're going to actually do, before we do that, we'll do OSPF. So the router OSPF 1, and we're going to advertise this network, but not this network just now. Okay, so we're going to do net 47.0.0.0 and 0, and make that area 0, and the one below it is 47.110. And we're also going to advertise our loopbacks. So we're going to pair in these loopbacks, so it's going to be necessary to put that in OSPF. Now the reason why I'm saying I'm not just going to advertise this, because we don't really want to be sending OSPF hello messages out across our WAN link to the ISP or whatever we're connected to in the different AS. I'll get to that in a bit though. There's a wee point to be made there. So let's go to router 6 and do the same thing with its networks. We'll do conf t router OSPF1 network 47 and network 47004, and we'll also advertise its loopback of all the 6s. Okay. Same thing here, both of these networks plus the loopback. Router OSPF1 network 47004. 47114, and the loopback of all the 7s. Okay, that's fine. And router 8, let's do the same thing. Nope. 110, and we'll also put the loopbacks of all the 8s in. Okay, so let's have a look and see if we can see all the loopbacks. So we can see 5, 6, and 7. Just ping that. Yep, ping. Okay, so we now have reachability between all our loopbacks, so we're now going to appear BGP on top of OSPF using the loopbacks. OSPF is used for reachability, and we're going to put iBGP on top of that. So we'll do router BGP 47, and remember, because of the iBGP split horizon rule, we need to mesh everyone. So 5 has got to pair with 6, it's got to pair with 7, and pair with 8. 6 has got to pair with 5, 7, and 8. 7's got to pair with 6, 5, and 8, and 8 has got to pair with 5, 6, and 7. Now, just thinking about that, you can probably see a problem just in terms of scalability with having to do that, and again, we'll get to that a wee bit later on. So neighbour 6.6.6 remote AS is 47, and because we're pairing on a loopback, we're going to tell that and say our update source is our own loopback of loopback 0, which is our 5.5.5.5. Same process for the 7, remote 47, and we're telling that we're going to pair on our 5 by doing the update source of loopback, and neighbour 8.8.8, remote 47, neighbour 8.8.8, update source loopback 0. Okay, and 6 is going to pair with 5, 7, and 8, so the same process. Router BGP 47, neighbour all the 5s, remote 47, neighbour all the 5s, update source loopback 0, neighbour all the 7s, remote 47, neighbour all the 7s, update source is loopback 0, neighbour all the 8s, neighbour. Okay, so let's go along to number 7. 7's going to appear with 5, 6, and 8. Okay, and lastly 8 is going to pair with 5, 6, and 7. Router BGP 47, and we'll do neighbor all the 5s, remote 47, neighbor all the 5s, update source loopback 0, neighbor all the 6s, remote 47. Do a show run section BGP, you can see how that looks. So we're peering with 5 and we're peering with our loopbacks, same again with 6 and 7, that's true of all these. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually I'll advertise this into BGP as well, just so we'll get an endpoint to ping, and we'll advertise a loopback of all the ones. Okay. There we go, that's in there. Okay, so if we look at router 5, now I've just advertised all the ones into BGP. Now, is router 5 going to be able to see that? Well, yes, it should, because like I say, router 1 is going to advertise its ones to here and here. Now, the next hop, once it goes through eBGP, is going to be flipped. So it's going to be flipped to this interface here. So from this point of view, to get to all the ones, the next hop will be 5.13.0.1, and let's just check that. So do it show IPBGP 5.13.0.1, which it can get to because it's directly connected and it's got reachability. Same again, once it's going to advertise it from 13 to 47, because it's going to a different AS, it's going to flip it again. So the one network is going to be flipped to 13.47.0.1, and we can see that on this one here. Show IP BGP 13.47.0.1, and because of that it can reach it. So if we do show IP route, you'll see it's in the routing table. See it there? Again, because we're now into iBGP, the next hops are not going to be flipped. So the next hops are going to remain on this interface, which this can't get to, this can't get to, and this can't get to. So if we go on to say router 6 here, show IPBGP, it'll be in the BGP table but not the routing table. So there it's there. You see that there. All the ones, the next hop is still here, which we don't have a route to. We don't have a route to 13.47.0.1. There is no route to that. So again, what we could do is we could bend the rules of iBGP and tell this router for all its neighbour adjacencies to put out next hop self. So that'd be neighbour 6.6.6, next hop self, neighbour 7.7.7.7, next hop self, neighbour 8.8.8.8, next hop self. And therefore the actual next hop will be changed to the IP address of all the 5s, which can be reached via OSPF. So that is one way to do it, but it's kind of breaking the rules of iBGP, and the best practices are to not do that. So what could we do? Well, we could provide our IGP reachability to this network by advertising this one into OSPF, but we don't really want to have OSPF going over here. If you want to do that, which you can do, nothing wrong with this by the way, you can advertise this network into OSPF so that the next hop is reachable. This network, this IP address here, can be reached from all these through OSPF. But if you do that, make sure that you make this a passive interface, because you don't want to be sending OSPF hellos out of this interface across the WAN. So advertise this network, but don't do the hellos. What I like to do is just do a simple route map and use redistribution. Redistribute this connected network alone into OSPF, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. So let's go and do that just now. So we'll just do a router, or rather route map, and just call it connected and permit 10. And like I say, you can just redistribute all your connected networks into OSPF. That would distribute them all. But again, just for practice, because we're just doing this way, I just want to just target this one, this exit interface. This is the only one I want to redistribute. So what I'm going to do with this route map is target that interface. So that's gigabit 01. So what I'm going to do is match int gig 01 and exit out. So if we do a show route map, the route map is just effectively just matching. We're just using it to match. Okay, so now if we go into our OSPF, which is router OSPF1, and we do redistribute connected, that would redistribute all the connected interfaces, but we just want to redistribute the one. So we'll do a route map, and the route map's name was called con. So we'll do that now, and that's it. So now because of that, this network here will be redistributed into the IGP as a type 5 LSA and show up as an E2 route, therefore giving reachability to the next hop, therefore making the BGP path valid and therefore reachable. So it will be in both the BGP table and the routing table. So let's see how that looks. We should now see this network as an E2 and see the 1.1.1.1 as a BGP route. So let's do it just now. We'll do show IP routes. And we see the E2 route to get to that. And because this is reachable, we now see BGP reachable. So again, if we do show IP BGP, we'll see that we've not broken the iBGP rules. The next hop is still this one. It's not been flipped here. It's still here, but because of IGP, we've got the reachability, and because of that, it's a valid and best path, and because of that, it's now in the routing table. So if we just try that, and let's just say, let's go to router 7, and we'll advertise our own loopback in just to do a full ping. We'll do router BGP 47 network and all the 7s with a mask of 32. Clear IP BGP soft. And if we do an extended ping and the target address is all the ones, we'll do an extended and we'll ping from our all the 7s. We now have full reachability right through here, and that is the better way to do it, is using an IGP and running iBGP on top of that. So like I said, this is pretty confusing and there's a few concerns. So one of the concerns obviously is, okay, well that's fine, iBGP sounds fine, okay, you need to peer everything between all the iBGP peers because of iBGP split horizon. Otherwise, in this case, like you've seen at the start of router 1, routes will not receive certain routers, or rather, routers will not receive certain routes. Now, obviously, if you've got 100 routers in your network, all iBGP'd, you can imagine how long that would take to scale that, to have every router peer to every other router in every possible combination. And actually, you don't do that. You don't fully mesh all of them. What you do is you use something called route-reflectors and confederations, and these actually break down iBGP into more scalable models. And I'm going to be talking about that in the next video. I think I'll do route-reflectors and confederations, and that will kind of that will help you understand how to scale iBGP. But remember, the key things is iBGP split horizon. iBGP peers will not pass on routes from one iBGP peer to another to prevent loops because it can't have the AS path check. iBGP doesn't modify path attributes, including the next hop or the AS path, and iBGP does not replace IGPs. You run iBGP on top of an IGP like OSPF or eIGRP or ISIS or even RIP if God forbid you want to use that. And again, iBGP peers are often not directly connected. You need to get out your head if you're used to seeing OSPF or eIGRP. Because of the big gap of physical air here, these two can still be peered as long as we have logical reachability. And iBGP peering is often done with loopbacks for reachability. It's done in eBGP too, but very, very common in iBGP. The last thing I want to say is, okay, if you're looking at this, you think, okay, well, why even use iBGP on top of this? Why not just have OSPF here, and let's say we need to peer with an ISP or whatever, and we need to run BGP here. Why not just run OSPF here, run BGP in this router, BGP in this router, and then just redistribute. So in this case, redistribute all the routes into OSPF, and then put it into BGP and BGP, and then back into OSPF. The reason why you run iBGP is because scalability. Now that might sound daft because I was talking about the scalability of making neighbouring relationships, but in terms of the size of the routing table, if you tried to redistribute, if you were a transit AS and carrying lots of routes through your AS, if you tried to redistribute that at the edge from BGP into your IGP just alone, and all the routes went into OSPF, OSPF is a link state protocol, it would just completely blow up. It could not handle that. Even eIGRP, a distance vector, could not handle that, and the RIP certainly couldn't handle that. So the reason why is you have OSPF or ISIS or eIGRP for your reachability between peers, and you put iBGP on top of that to handle these path decisions and the large routing tables. So you're not going to put in all the routes into OSPF, you're just going to have OSPF for the reachability of your own nodes, and then carry the routing table with iBGP, if that makes sense. So like I say, if you got to the end of this video, well done, because it's quite complex, and I'm often not the best at explaining this. I'm trying my best, but the best thing to do is be generous to yourself. Accept that this might be confusing at first, but the key is to lab. If you keep labbing it, you'll get it no problem at all after a few attempts. And with that, that's the end of the video. The next one will continue to discuss iBGP and scalability with route reflectors and confederations, but for now that's it. So thanks very much, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.